Alright then, ladies and gents, so this particular video is focusing on Elizabeth's religious settlement. That comes itself in 1559. It's the first important thing she does on becoming queen. She gets her coronation January, I think it is, 1559, and the first issue she deals with is the religious divide in the country. She wants to settle it. Now, this is what she's trying to do. She's trying to keep both sides happy. I've put as my key phrase, middle ground. She's looking for a middle ground between Catholics and Protestants to keep them all happy, to make her life easier as a new queen. So the religious settlement comes in three parts. You must know about all three of these parts, and you really need to know a little bit about what's involved in each one. So, Act of Supremacy. This puts Elizabeth as the supreme governor, not head, the supreme governor of the Church of England. Really important you know that. This means that everyone is following her rules and they accept that she is sort of linked with the Church of England and is part of its authority structure, right? Secondly, the Act of Uniformity. This is like you guys at school with your uniform. She's keeping all the churches and the church services the same. This comes down to the Book of Common Prayer, which is basically a way that all services must go. But remember, in the Act of Uniformity, there is plenty of wiggle room. The Book of Common Prayer, for example, is vaguely worded so that both Catholics and Protestants and the extreme Protestants, the Puritans, they can get on board with it. Because she's trying to keep everyone happy, she's hitting that middle ground. The final part, and remember all three of these come under the word or the term religious settlement, is the Royal Injunctions. Now the Royal Injunctions are put together by William Cecil, that's Elizabeth's Secretary of State, and they're basically a way of enforcing and being clear on what Elizabeth wants as her rules as part of her church. So it's got things like, in the Royal Injunctions, there must be an English Bible in every parish. There must be certain robes that are worn by the priest. Pilgrimages are banned, all those sort of things. Again, hitting that middle ground, trying to keep both the Catholics and Protestants happy. I've given you a summary there. You probably need some more detailed examples for your revision. So, there's two issues that come from the religious settlement. The first challenge comes from Puritans. Puritans are radical, extreme Protestants. If you imagine a scale, you've got Catholics over here, you've got Protestants over here. Now Elizabeth is trying to keep everybody happy with a sort of middle ground, maybe edging towards Protestantism, right? The Puritans, is Catholics, Protestants, the Puritans are even more extreme. They're over here. They're extreme, radical Protestants. They want things pure, simple. That's the key word. They want their religion, their faith to be very pure, not dressed up, not fancy, everybody equal, everyone having a nice relationship with God. And they have two issues with the religious settlement. Now Elizabeth, she wants crucifixes in every church. Now, right at the start, the Puritans rather, they hate that. They think that crucifixes are idols. They kick off. And it's right at the start, it's 1559, Elizabeth's just become queen. And she doesn't want to fight them too much. She's not feeling comfortable enough. So actually Elizabeth backs down on the crucifix controversy. She backs down and she lets the Puritan element within the church get their own way. But she keeps one in her private chapel because she likes them. Now the second issue comes a bit later in her reign. In about 1565, 1566, Elizabeth sort of finds out, or her Privy Council find out, that actually lots of people aren't following her royal injunction rule on vestments. They're wearing whatever they want. And this time she enforces it. She gets the Archbishop of Canterbury to hold a special exhibition in London to show all of the priests, all of the bishops, what they should be wearing. Okay? A load of people don't show up, they get fired. This is one she enforces it. So you've got two Puritan challenges there, the crucifix controversy we call it, and the vestments controversy. Both of those are challenging the religious settlement, but this one Elizabeth backs down. With the vestments, the clothing, she actually stands her ground and starts to fire people. There's one more challenge from the Catholics. Remember I said it was Puritans, Protestants and Catholics, the different forms of Christianity. Now the Catholics, they're sort of kept quiet by the religious settlement. Most of the time Elizabeth wants people just to get along and not make too much fuss. There's a famous quote, she says, "I will not make windows into men's souls." Elizabeth is saying, I don't care what you think in your heart of hearts, just keep it to yourself and give an outward appearance of obedience. But in 1560, that's why I put these two dates here, 1559 is when the religious settlement gets published. By 1569, there's some rumblings from the Catholics. We have the revolt of the Northern Earls, the Northern Rebellion. Two earls, Northumberland and Westmoreland, they rebel. They are sulking that Elizabeth's not giving them enough credit, and also they're Catholics. They rebel, they hold a big Catholic mass at Durham Cathedral, and loads of Catholics in the north of England join them. They start to march south, but Elizabeth is in a much stronger position. And actually, most of the nobility stay with Elizabeth and don't join this rebellion. So the rebellion gets, pushed back and they have to run away. Now this is really important. Elizabeth has had enough by this point. In the first 10 years, she let some things go. If you're a Catholic and you didn't go to church, you were fined. Yeah? If you didn't go to Elizabeth's church services, you might be fined £1, I think it was, for missing church service that week. So many Catholics would just skip church and have their own personal opinions. But by this point, they're openly rebelling. Elizabeth says enough is enough, and she gets stricter on Catholics. She hangs hundreds of rebels, she kills them, hangs them, executes them as punishment. So after 1569, the religious settlement stays, but Elizabeth gets stricter on enforcing some of its rules.